y'all? Happy Tuesday. As you can tell, you can probably see all of my teeth. I'm excited to be back. Not us coming back after maybe about about 4 or 5 months, but nonetheless, I am here. Hopefully, you all saw the flyer that I put out a couple of days ago about our guest that we have live tonight, giving us a testimony, a good testimony. And normally, well, before we get into that, y'all let me know where y'all are tuning in from, please. I do have my laptop up, so I am going to be checking the comments. How are y'all feeling today? Let me know. Before we get into a conversation, you can't just jump into a conversation when people are not, know how they're feeling. So y'all let me know what's going on, how your Tuesday is going, how your week is going. As a matter of fact, since it's been some months, let me know how 2023 is treating you so far in the comments. As you can see, we already have our guest up here, and I am going to introduce her in a minute, and then I'm going to let her take over. I just want to make sure I get this up so I can answer y'all questions if y'all have any. All right, so normally I don't do like this full introduction, but I feel like for this one, I want to at least give, like, I guess, my point of view, or like, I guess it would be kind of like a slight introduction. But Benita, so Miss Benita, I see her every week. When I think of Benita, I think of somebody who is consistent, okay? And what I mean by that is every single week, because we're on some of the same, or we follow some of the same people. And every week, y'all, I don't know how long it's been, but every single week, Benita is encouraging people. She is giving a word for the week. She is praying. If y'all need prayer, y'all need to make sure y'all find her on YouTube or either on Facebook, but she is praying for the week. And like I said, she's just always uplifting people, encouraging people, motivating people. And that is one thing of, I'm sure, the many, many things about her that has definitely stood out to me that I have taken notice of. Every week you can count on her having a word to share and give to y'all. And I mean, with everything going on in the world, who wouldn't want some words of encouragement? Who doesn't need some type of motivation? And so here we are. This is her opportunity to give us a good testimony, something that we all could use right now. And y'all, I just want to simply remind you that Spreading Good News, this channel right now, is dedicated to acknowledging the truth, restoring your faith, confirming victory, what we already know, that God is still doing what he said he was going to do, no matter what it looks like in the world, no matter what is going on, no matter any of the bad things that's going on, the bad news you hear, the bad things you go through. He is still blessing. He is still being true to his word. And Miss Benita is going to give us her testimony of what he has been doing for her. Benita, go ahead.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. I try, y'all. I try my best to be consistent. This testimony, I'm gonna say, is still in motion. Um, I don't know, Tori. I think you may have to come for a part two, but
Okay.
you will see after I finish, with saying about my testimony. So back in September 2016, my son and I, my dad at the time when he was alive, and my mom, we was on our way back to my hometown, which is Augusta, Georgia, and we was
Mm-hmm.
leaving Daytona. So every Labor Day, we always go to Daytona Beach. So as we was going back home to Augusta, I was asleep. I remember asking my mom, "Can I have the window seat?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." So I went to sleep. And then I just happened to wake up. And when I woke up and I put my glasses on, when I looked out the window, it said, "Welcome to Jacksonville." And I just heard God said, "This is where you're going to live and raise your family." And I was like, okay, I'm looking, and
Uh-huh.
as we was, riding past, and I was like, okay, it seemed like it's a all right place, I guess. I've
Mm-hmm.
never been to Jacksonville, never. Only parts of Florida I've been to is Daytona and Miami, and
Mm-hmm.
passing through Fort Lauderdale. So didn't think nothing about it. until my dad died in 2016. So when he died in 2016, I kept seeing Florida tags. And I thought about that what happened in 2011. So I said, okay, all right, God, I see you confirming of you saying that this is where I would live and raise my family. Okay,
Mhm.
still didn't say nothing of it. Still going on about my day. Um, every year I would see Florida tags. I When I moved into my apartment in 2020,
Mhm.
I had a neighbor, like we had a sliding door. So where he parked, it was a Florida tag. It's like it started increasing in 2020.
Mhm.
So my son was in the 8th grade, and so he was getting that following year he would be a high schooler. I just knew in my knower that he was not going to go to high school here in Augusta. I just knew it. I just knew that, but I didn't know where we was going. So
Mhm.
so once he finished 8th grade, we moved to Walker Estates. That's where we were staying at the time. And I was seeing Florida tags every day, every day, every day. So once it got 2021, that following year, I never forget it. I was working at my job at Golden Harvest.
Mhm.
In June, I started looking, no, I kept seeing 808 and 818. And so I thought there was Bible scriptures at first. And then as I kept seeing them consistently, I said,
Mhm.
you know what? I think this is a move date. And I remember I was talking with Serene, and she was like, oh, yeah, those are moving dates. And I was like, oh my gosh. So in
Wow.
June, I was looking, I said, well, Holy Spirit, may you guide me to a realtor, to work with. So I did fill out the mortgage and everything, and talk to somebody back in Jacksonville. And the trip
Mhm.
part about it in 2021, never saw the word Jacksonville. I just always saw Florida tags. So
Wow.
as it was approaching summer, my coworker was like, I'm going out of town. I said, oh, cool. Where you going for your vacation? Going to Jacksonville. I said, oh, okay. Didn't think nothing of it.
Mhm.
The following week, I was talking to another coworker, and it was like, man, let me tell you, I love Jacksonville. And I was like, okay, mine still not thinking about it.
Mhm.
Then I was watching a movie, and it had Tiffany Haddish. I forgot the guy, short guy with the glasses, black guy, and they had Florida tags. But guess where they was at? In Jacksonville.
Uh-huh,
I said,
Jackson.
okay, God, I hear you now. So I did the process and everything. And the guy that I was working with for at the mortgage company at the time, um, he told me it was some bills that I needed to pay down. And so I remember telling God, I said, well, I think because the school started earlier than in Augusta. I said, well,
Mhm.
God, maybe I'll just wait. I say, I'll just wait till next month. Have everything together because I was supposed to get a raise. This was July at the time. I said,
Mhm.
I'll just wait. And the Holy Spirit was like, so you would rather take men advice and not just depend on me? You don't know what I have for you. And I'm like, but we may not have a home when we get there. So but so you're not going to trust me? And I was like, what can I say off that? Right. So I did. I trust him. We did move. August 6th was my last day of 2021. And
Mhm.
then that Friday was my last day. That Saturday, the next day, my son and I, we drove to Jacksonville. It's just a 3-hour drive from Augusta to
Mhm.
Jacksonville. So we got there. We was in extended stay. This young lady at the time, I had known her since elementary school. We was friends like on and off, and then we became back friends again. And I told her everything. Everything I'm telling you, she knew it. She already knew this. And so she was like, well, since you in the extended stay, it's just only how long you gonna stay there? I said, well, till Wednesday, and then we'll just see what's gonna happen. Mind you, I'm at peace at the whole thing. I have a
Right.
peace about it. It's not like I feel like I need to turn around. None of that.
Mhm.
So when the young lady who was my friend at the time, she told me, she said, well, it's the Christian thing to do. You could just stay with me. I got room. I got a 2-bedroom. Your son could come with me. I said, okay, cool. I said, then that way you could tell me the process. of,
Mhm.
register him to school because I know what school he's gonna go to, and all this
Right.
other stuff. So she helped me. I used her address, got it notarized. Someone told me to take a picture of it. I don't know why, but I see why. But I took a picture of it and enrolled Darian in school. Everything was good for a week. She was helping me. I was
Mhm.
looking for apartment because the guy that I was talking to for the mortgage, I don't know what happened to him, but he was gone. I don't know what happened. So I said, well, let me just look for an apartment.
A pickup.
So I was looking at apartments, nobody wasn't taking any new tenants. They kept telling me, well, at the time, it was COVID back in 2020. They slowly start opening everything back up in
Mhm.
2021. But the tenants had a protection because of, they didn't have a job and whatnot. So you had most people that when I was going to look for an apartment, they wasn't looking for no tenants at the time. They said you would just have to wait the next year. I was like, I can't wait the next year. I'm like, I need something.
Man.
So so the young lady, my my friend at the time, she
Uh-huh.
was like, "Well, just keep looking. Something gonna happen." I already had a job. I was had a job, data entry clerk. Um, I had already had a job secured. Only thing I just needed was for us to have a place to stay.
Right.
Well,
Right.
that following week, Tori, I don't know what happened, but the young lady told me that my son and I needed to leave. She just didn't give no explanation. She said, "This is just too much. You will never make it in Jacksonville. You
Oh.
will, why did you come down here with a pay cut? That just doesn't make sense. And then you didn't have anything planned. Why you didn't plan this out? When I came here, I planned it all out. I had a place to stay, but you just, and then Labor Day is coming. My parents coming. You just gonna have to leave." And I'm like, I said, "Well, if you didn't want to help me, you just could have said that. We could have stayed where we was at this thing." I said, now mind you, she's saying all this. Now I'm done got fearful. I'm on the phone looking at other jobs because she was like, well, you should go back because she knew me from when I was doing pharmacy tech. Well, maybe you should just go back in pharmacy because you took a pay cut and you would never make it here. You just need to go back home. You just need to go back home. So mind you, when she told me to leave, it was in a text message. I stayed in her
Oh.
apartment. Right.
Oh.
So I stayed in her apartment. Now we did have a talk because she was like, "So where we going?" I say, "I'm not trying to be with you a year." I said, "You see, I'm looking every day. I mean, every day I was looking." I said, "So it's not like I'm trying to stay here." Mind you, I gave her money. I gave her money to stay. I had money put back. So and the only thing that I didn't use her groceries or anything. I bought
Mhm.
Darren and our own food. That way, only thing I had to use was just her water, the
Right.
room,
Right.
bed. That's it, right. But that second week, I don't know what happened. I was only there 2 weeks. That Saturday, she kicked us out. So I ended up going back to the extended stay. Now, mind you, I didn't work yet because it was a hang up with Darian's schooling. So by him being autistic, he has an IEP. So it has to
Mhm.
go through a whole process of where he would be placed at due to the IEP. So I had to wait
Right.
on that. But they was like, well, it's going to be 2 weeks. I was like, no, it's not. I'm like, I don't believe that. It's not going to take 2 weeks. And it didn't. It ended up taking a couple of days. He started school. Now, my principal, she was very, very understanding. She didn't know, all of this, but she just knew that I was waiting for my son to go to school. So once he
Right.
finally got to school, here's the thing. Now, I did take a pay cut. I really did. But how about when I received well, first off, I received a check. I didn't even work there yet. But my coworker was like, I know you was coming. So I just went ahead and just made sure you got a check. I got the check. I had a raise. I had a
Oh,
raise.
a
Okay.
check hadn't
Uh,
worked and you got a raise.
exactly. So we were still at the extended stay. I stayed there until I didn't have any more money left because of
Mhm.
course the money that I was using it for us to, have to get us a home. Mind
Right.
you, still never heard from the guy named was Christian. Still didn't hear from him. The only thing that I wish I could have done different was talk with the realtor at the time.
Okay.
The time I don't even know why. I just figured, hey, I mean, I found an apartment to be easy, but it was like that. So we stayed up to the extended stay till I didn't have any more money until I received my next check. And so I told God, I said, no, God, surely I know we're supposed to. I know I'm not meant for us to be here in my car, let alone go back to Augusta. Because that was a thought. I'm like, maybe I should go back, go ahead and get my job back, just not in the, just in something else, but
Right.
see if I
Right.
can get the right. But sorry, I knew if I went back to Augusta, that I would forfeit everything that God has for Darian and I. So I called around, and after I told God, I said, surely you don't have us going to be in the car. So I called the Salvation Army, and I talked with the
Okay.
young lady. And when I talked with her, she told me, I explained everything to her, just like I'm explaining to you. And she was like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna call you back because you're not gonna be in your car. Mind you, Tora, I did not tell her that. I didn't say that at all. So I knew that
Oh
was
my
God.
goodness. She just, oh,
She just said that, she
wow.
said, you and your
She
son
just,
is not gonna be in your car. You're gonna have a place to stay, and we're gonna make sure that you move today. But just give me an hour. Call me back in an hour. I said, okay. I called her back in an hour. She told me to come down there. I went down there, did paperwork. So we had a place to stay. Now, mind you, pride set in because of, the way the room looked, because it looked like it was a prison, because it was bunk beds, but
I
we,
got
but at least we have a place, right? And I had to keep telling myself that. But I
you.
was
Mm-hmm.
like, God, I know I heard you. Like, why are we in here? Like, I should have had us a house. I should have had, or at least an apartment or something. So,
Mm.
but but it was pride. So I got, mind you, it was some roaches there. And I said, now, wait a minute, Lord. Now, Holy Spirit said, look, tomorrow you go to Dollar General, get you some Raid spray, you'll be fine. So guess what this chick did? Next day, went to Dollar General, got some Raid spray. I didn't see any roaches no more.
Wow. Benita,
So,
1 second. 1 second. This
okay,
is for
okay,
anybody that's just joining in quickly. I just want to give like a brief recap. We're at the climax, as they would say, of the story of this good testimony. So for those that are just coming in, Benita is sharing her good testimony, right? And so far, in the beginning, she said she kept seeing what would be the area code, right? 818. She
right.
kept seeing 818, if I'm not mistaken, which was ended up being for Florida. She kept hearing
No,
Florida. She heard God say
no,
Florida, right?
no. Eight at the eight. That was the dates of, like, this is
The
your
date,
timeline of leaving. Yeah, I kept
the
seeing Florida
timeline.
tags.
Okay. She kept seeing Florida tags, but the
Mhm,
date she kept seeing in number form, right?
mhm,
And
right.
so there, and there are people. I asked this question before too, because I relocated maybe about 3 years ago, and I just was like, Lord, like, when it comes to moving, you just want to know these things ahead of time, especially if you don't have everything, I guess, strategically planned out, so to speak.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
she saw the dates. She kept seeing Florida tags. Then people around her were specifically talking about Jacksonville and how much they liked Jacksonville. She kept seeing Jacksonville even through a movie. And so she went. She believed she heard God, and she went off of that, only to run into a friend, or I guess what was supposed to be a friend, that opened up her home and decided to change her mind after only 2 weeks. So I just want you to quickly think about that. You and your child, or you and your family, you're in the midst of relocating, starting over, new beginnings, fresh start, however you want to put it. You have someone that that opens up their home to you, their place, and then after 2 weeks, you're in a foreign place, pretty much away
Yep.
from family, decides to, no. And not only that, but then she had the audacity, because I was over here listening like, wait a minute, ma'am. Not only that, but then she goes into how you should have done X, Y, and Z, although you listened to God. So you did what you were supposed to do, but she wanted to give you a list of things that you should have done, because that's what she did and that's what worked for her. Mm, 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 mm. Okay.
And then
And
I'll
so
never
here
make
we
it.
are.
Let's not forget that part. Or you will never make it.
Right. And then, I mean, to me, that's a form of word curse. Like you're telling someone that they're not
Mhm.
going to make it. But
Mhm.
then she tried to give you advice on what you should be doing as well. So who would want advice at
Mhm.
that point from somebody who has pretty much um tried to use their words against you and what you're doing and what God has told you to do. So now Benita has
Mhm.
found herself in a situation where she is literally trying to find somewhere to stay for her and her son, a roof over her head. And God sent this lady that apparently knew a thing or two of what was going on in Benita's situation, because she mentioned information that Benita had not given her about her and her son being in the car.
Mhm.
So now she's at this
Mhm.
place, and I'm gonna let her continue. She's now come to this place that's not necessarily what you would think.
Mhm.
When God has told you to relocate, you're thinking, okay, well, He gonna put me somewhere nice, maybe a little bit
Listen,
luxurious,
listen,
modern things.
listen.
But right now, it's a little bit of the opposite. So go ahead,
Yeah.
Benita.
Yes, total opposite. So when we got there, it was after Labor Day that we got there, September 2021. So
Mm-hmm.
Darian started doing really good. Now with him being autistic, and a
Mm-hmm.
huge change for him, he did excellent. This young man was just soaring, doing excellent, enjoy going to school. Now, mind you, here in Augusta, he wasn't like that. And I mean, he'll go to school, but it's just different. Like the whole demeanor and everything was different. So we got there in September 2021 to the Salvation Army, just trying to get frustrated and everything. Mind you, I got stuff in my car. And y'all, I'm feeling shame because I got stuff in my car and in my trunk. And I really started taking things out to put in the room. But still, I have stuff in my car. You got people that's looking like, what's going on? And I'm like, just keep driving, like smile and just keep it moving. And I remember just telling God, hey, this is nothing. I mean, I know I heard you. And mind you, I told my mom about this too. So she
Right.
knows everything that's going on. So it's not like she didn't know. And she encouraged me the whole way. It's
Right.
not like she said, you need to move, you need to come back. She didn't say any of that. She was very encouraging, even to this day. So
Mm-hmm.
we get to December. Oh, before I get to December, so got my first check, got a raise. I want to say 2 months later, we got a $750 bonus. Then,
Yeah.
then December we got a big raise, and so the raise that we got, I ended up making I was like $100 shy of what I was making back in Augusta.
Uh-huh.
So he was restoring, and then the trip part too. Now, when I was leaving Augusta and I was leaving my job, Miss Julie, who I worked with, my coworker, she gave me this book, and it was by Bishop Davis, and he is the pastor at Impact Church in Jacksonville. And so, December, his church wanted to pick a family to help them a house, or house, and they chose me. The director, the young lady that helped us get there, chose my son and I. Didn't know us from a can of paint, and so we got the paperwork done, and they was telling me what all I needed to do. So when
Right.
2022 came, which was last year,
Mhm.
we everything started being slow. Like I don't know what happened, because the young lady that I was working with at the time, I was hearing from her, then I stopped hearing from her, because
Right.
mind you, before this happened, I did try housing. I made too much, so I couldn't do housing, couldn't get food stamps. I still was trying to do the apartment thing, still wasn't taking anybody. So when 2022 came, and when they said, well, just submit all your paperwork, like basically an intake, my name, my son name, age, and all that.
Mhm.
So started hearing from her. Everything was going well. And then I want to say about the middle of last year, it's like everything got to a standstill. So I'm like, okay, God, it's coming up a year. Like we
Mhm.
still here at the show. What's really going on? I don't understand. So towards the end of 2022, I ended up working with another lady from Impact Church. And
Mhm.
this time I really liked this lady because she was on point with the communication. When she tell me whatever I need to do, one thing about me, you tell me I need to do something, I'm going to do it. I don't have step. I like to go ahead and do it. And so now in the process of getting a house, God has restored my finances to the point that not only do I have money in the bank to get us, because I wanted to try to get us an apartment, but he is really trying to get us to have a house. That way I have it'll be my own. Because if you get an apartment, it's gonna always the rent to go up every year. And
It
the
is.
and listen, the price of in Jacksonville of an apartment, you better off getting a house. Because it's the same of when if you have your own house. And so now that's where we're at. We've been there a year, but we are
Mhm.
very close in having us a house. I feel like
Okay.
this whole journey was about trusting God, being obedient, no matter
Mhm.
how it looked. Um, I don't. I forgot to include this. The young lady that I was staying with, when she put us out that same day, I was hot as fire. I really wanted to fight her. I'm just going to be honest. But
Hello.
when I, but
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? But when we got in the car, my son and I sat in my car and I said, God, before I leave, I choose to forgive her. I said, I'm not going to leave. I said, I'm mad. You know how I feel, but I'm not going to sit here and just have unforgiveness for her. I choose to forgive. I choose to release her to the sea of forgiveness. If I ever see her, I will. I won't get like a loss of appetite or have an attitude. When I see her, I see her with the love of Christ, and I ask you to put that on me. But God, I'm not leaving this parking lot of her apartment until I feel that release. Because right, God, I am that you take this off from me. And I just kept saying over and over, I forgive her. I forgive her. I forgive her. I forgive her. And I'm in a book club, and I have a mentor, Tiffany Montgomery. And whenever we do fasting, she always says that, forgive someone or pray for someone that did you wrong. And I do that every month. And I did that every month of last year. I did that every month of 2021. 2021, even to this day, I still have I seen her since? I have not. As far as I know, she's still in Jacksonville, but I did
Mhm.
block. I took her number out my phone. I just
Right.
said, Lord, just bless her. I don't have anything ill to say anything about her, but I wanted to make
Mhm.
sure I put that in there in this testimony because I chose to forgive her because despite how she did, I'm not going to let that rule over me because that will stop the blessings of what God has for my son and I because I know that we have a very big purpose in Jacksonville. I don't know what it is, but I just know that we're meant to be there. And even when we set foot there, even until now, I even told my this last week, it's like we're meant to be there. Yeah, I could have moved back home. I could have moved back to Augusta. I could have asked for my job back. But when times get hard, that's when I needed to just trust God. And by me trusting him and obeying him, he still provided the step of the way. Yes, we was at the Salvation Army, but hey, we got a roof over our head. We're able to lay down. We have a place to lay down. We got a place to wash our behinds. We even have a place to eat because they feed us.
Mhm.
There's nothing to complain about, and they do help you get you back on your feet. They do help you with housing needs. But what got me was that the book that my coworker gave me is the same that the author of that book is the pastor that over that church of his member of that church is helping me. So you can't say my steps was not ordered by me
Well,
being
they.
obeying exactly to from going there. Yeah, I did let that young lady discourage me. I did let fear grip me because of what she was saying. But I never forget the Holy Spirit was telling me when I was sitting on the bed and that said, all I heard was stop, because I was on the phone trying to find a job. Maybe I should go back to pharmacy and all this other But all I heard was stop. You heard right. You heard right. So stop it. You don't go by what she said. That's God. I am not telling you what to do. You let fear and what she said project on you. So I need you to take a deep breath and stop. And that's what I did. And I asked God for forgiveness. And then before I left that parking lot, I asked for
Right.
forgiveness and then look back. I just kept looking forward. But now we're here in 2023. We're in our house. We're about to be in our house. So now I'm truly house hunting and I'm excited about that. And so that's why I said it may be a part two because
It
that's all that we're
definitely
waiting on
will
now.
be a part
Yeah,
two.
yeah. So that's where we're at right now. So we've been at the Salvation Army for a year. Do I feel that we'll be there another year? I really don't. I really do because we're so close. I have a awards letter from the city of Jacksonville for a down payment, $50,000. I have an approval letter from the mortgage. Right. The only thing hold up now is I applied for SSI for my son. So we're just in a holding pattern waiting for that to be approved. Because once that approved, I have more buying power. And then I feel that once we get that house, it's just going to go by fast and we'll be in there. So now that's just the only hold up because they were saying it's been this month, the 29th of this month will make 6 months of waiting of approval for him. But they said it may take 10 months, but the devil is a lie. I don't agree with that. I rebuke that. I will hear something this month because all I'm hearing since March came is declare that you will march into your house this month. So that's what I've been declaring every day. But yeah, this is where we're at right now. And do I regret anything? I do not. I'm actually glad that I did go through with that person that was a friend because that showed me who she is. She can't come on the journey that I'm on, and she really didn't change. I thought she did, but she didn't. So I'm glad that I did go through that. I don't regret it. I absolutely love Jacksonville. It's funny because the way I drive and when my son and I are there, it's like we've been there for years and we only been there a year. So August of this year will make 2 years. So I'm just blessed. Like right now we're on spring break, so I'm here back in Augusta visiting my mom. But this whole journey it was just all about being obedient and trusting God. It makes me think about Joseph in a way because Joseph had a dream. He knew he knew it, but look what he went through. But he never complained. He just kept his eyes on God. And now, did I complain? Now I did ask God, like, wait a minute now. I mean, we supposed to be in the house. Like, look where we at now. Now, mind you, I'm thankful for the door, God. I'm thankful that you opened the door, but I didn't think it was gonna look like this. But when I tell you the people that I work with at the school, Darien School, I mean, everybody help us, and you can't tell me that we don't have favor because we have favor wherever we go in Jacksonville.
Indeed.
So yeah, so but that's where we're at right now. And I'm just glad that I was obedient to God. I'm glad that I didn't that despite how things look, that I didn't go back, even though I was tempted. But I said, I trust you, God. It's all about just being obedient and trusting him.
Wow. I am over here like, what? I mean, here, what I'm trying to figure out where to start because doing the introduction for you, what I knew of, what very little I knew, because by the way, you all, me and Benita, we've never met in person. It's just been, us establishing and coming together online through other people. And so I only know the little that I've seen. And I'm like, oh, this woman, I'm like, she encouraging people every single week. I see her videos. Either she's doing both. She's doing videos on YouTube and then the other platforms that we're on together, the book group, the book club with Tiffany. I see your post every week. And I'm just like, that's what I associate with Benita, is just somebody who's encouraging people, motivating people, uplifting people, giving words, God's word and just words of life to help you throughout the week. So to hear your testimony and all that you went through, to know what was, really taking place on behind the scenes, so to speak, and to know that you were still in the midst of going through your own things, you were still dedicated, still committed to, let me encourage someone else, because I even a while back, I know you were doing them right before school, if I'm not mistaken, because I think you would be in the car sometimes, or
Yep.
either right outside in the parking lot. So I know you've been doing it for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And just to know all of that was going on, and you hit on so many good things, even from the beginning, just hearing God. That's something that people, are still trying to find, that his voice, or trying to find, like, okay, how do I know it's him? How do I know he's saying that? So the fact that you know that, the fact that you knew he was telling you, hey, these are the dates, this is where you're going,
Yep.
and in a sense, you'll find out the rest when you get there. How many people can really do that? Now, have I heard of people doing that? Yes, but I don't think there's a whole lot of people that would just go almost in a sense of being blind. Like, where you're going, but you don't have a house or an apartment, so you really don't have a roof right now. You don't have a job completely secure, I guess, so to speak, or even if you did, like you said, you hadn't worked yet to really get a paycheck. So you did have a job, but you weren't, you hadn't accumulated anything or accrued any hours yet. So to do that, get here, and then still go through, I guess what was supposed to be a friendship. And you hit on something really big when you mentioned that portion of it as well, with forgiveness. And I do remember Tiffany talking about forgiveness, and like you said, every month her talking about making sure you forgive these people. And what I've come to learn is that forgiveness really is for us.
It is.
You get what I mean? It's for us. Like you said, you don't want any of your blessings to be stopped, to be hindered, to be on pause or delayed, or just cancel altogether, because you can't forgive somebody and what they did to you. And the fact that you did it, Benita, before you even left those grounds, because I don't know. Now, I have done forgiveness. It's something that I continually practice, but to do it, to think to do it in that very moment, I don't know if I would have been able to. I probably would have been too hot. My thing would have probably just been trying to get away, like get off the property, get away. Because like you said, like, I got some thoughts right now that don't necessarily align with what God would want me to do. So my thoughts would have been like, let me just leave. Okay. Because this is not going to end well if I stay here any longer. But it shows the God in you. It shows the maturity in you, and it shows that you are really still in the midst of that, still in tune with God enough to hear, like, before you leave here, like, you just need to go ahead and forgive now. And I don't know too many people that would actually be able to do that in the midst, especially when it had just happened. And on top of the fact that you have your child with you. Some things we can endure on our own, and be okay, but to have your child with you and have to experience that, and now you're really trying to find a place for you and your child, and you've been put in that situation, is just like, what? But I agree. Not that you need me to agree, but I agree that your steps were truly ordered, and the way that everything happened the way it needed to happen, and even down to your job, and someone, I don't want to use the word vouching, but someone speaking up for you, saying, hey, I know you're just getting here, but I told him that you're probably going to need a paycheck. Like, where does that happen at? What? Most people are like, okay, well, hold on, she didn't work yet. Like, what do you mean she needs a paycheck? She hasn't even worked yet. But they said something. They spoke up for you, and that was a part of your favor, getting paid before you start working. Huh?
And exactly. And then it was it was almost a full check. That was the trip part. And then a raise. But I like what you touched on about forgiveness. Well, not forgiveness, but maturity, because before I gave my life to Christ, I was the most unforgiving person. You did something to me, you could stand right in front of me and you would just be erased out of my world. I would ignore you. I wouldn't. I was just the most unforgiving person ever. But until God worked in me, and just like you said, I did want to leave because she did have an attitude as well.
Oh,
But
help
but
me. Ooh.
listen, but at the same time, I just knew that if I would leave and still feel that way, I had to lift that up. I didn't even want to carry that with me when we went back to the extended stay. So I wanted to make sure that I forgive, but yeah, maturity definitely. That's how I knew that my maturity level went up because of how I used to be. Um, yeah, because I had a temper and everything. So before I, gave my life to Christ, so that maturity that let me know I matured. But yeah,
Mhm.
I had to make sure that I forgive before I left. I had to. I didn't want to leave with that still on me. I didn't want to have that residue.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. And then we can't forget the part how you received the book from the coworker. And the same book you received from your coworker ended up being the pastor. So I guess the book was the pastor that you ended up going to the church, and that's the same church that ended up selecting you as the family to help, right?
Right, right. And the
Um,
members of that church, they have a program that they was doing to help families to have their own to get them a house. And how about I'm the first to
right.
ever,
And you just
to
got
do that.
there.
And I
You just
just
got
got
there. And
there.
it very well could have been other families from the area, people that
Absolutely.
already belong to the
That
church,
was already
but
there
it was
before. Yep.
you.
Yep. Yep. And they just started that program. So when I say literally, like they started that program December of 2021. So I'm the first person of I guess you could say a beneficiary of that program.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and they still working out the kinks and everything. So I started out with this one lady, and now I ended up with another lady who is absolutely awesome, but she is a member of that church. So and she's my realtor.
God is so amazing. When I say we can't even fathom, we cannot try to figure these things out. And that's what it is. He doesn't want us to figure it all out. We're not supposed to know
That
everything.
part.
We are
Yep.
literally supposed to go on faith, off of faith. And if we
Mhm.
say we believe, that's all he needs us to do is to believe and to go.
Mhm. That's it.
And he will show us the rest when we get there.
Yeah.
He will show us the rest when we get there.
I think the problem is that we're so used to having a plan B, C, D, and all,
Mhm.
even though God is the plan A.
Mhm.
I like what Cora said. It was on Instagram that I saw. She said if when God shows you something, that is your plan A, and that's what you stick by. Just because it doesn't look right or it doesn't feel right, you still
Mhm.
trust that, because if you end up having a plan B or a C, that's doubt. And that means you didn't already doubt God. I was like, that was so good to me.
And it is true when you start to think of
Mhm,
other things like, oh, okay, well, I know he said to do this, but just in case that doesn't happen, let me,
mhm,
try to call and get some stuff together, or let me, write out some things that I can do just in case it doesn't work. And the minute you do that, like you said, you're already there. There's doubt there. That it's proof
mhm.
that it's doubt there when you start to come up with these other plans outside of what he told you to do,
Absolutely.
outside of what he told you to do. And I like how you touched on Joseph and the correlation with your story, because yeah, he did see what was going to happen further out in his life, but he didn't see the middle part. He didn't see how his brothers were going to turn on him and sell him, and being put in prison for not even doing anything. But
Mhm.
isn't that something? But guess what? While he was there, he was still favored. He was favored by the
Absolutely.
guard while he was there. So he still had favor. That never
Mhm.
left him. He wasn't killed, even though he was
Nope.
sold and everything like that. God still had his hand on him. And to people on the outside, of course, it probably didn't look like it. Like, well, why would he let you go through this? But that's what he had to endure. That's what he had to go through in order to come out, come out on top, so to speak, or come out in the palace, as they refer to with his story, from the prison to the palace. This man ended up being the second in command, and really he could have been the top one, but as Pharaoh said, you would just be under me. But I mean, all of this, you have free reign over everything, every single thing,
and wealthy.
everything. Yes. Even what? And this was literally, as they say, overnight. Now, of course, what he went through wasn't overnight, but when it was his time,
it was his time.
Just like that.
Yep.
Just like that.
Yep.
And if God did it back then, he's still doing it now, and he can surely do it for you. He can do it for me. He can do it for whoever is listening to this live. Like, you are not counted out, but you are counted in. And even though it may look like whatever it is that you're going through, whatever transition of yours that's taken place, maybe it's not moving to another place. Maybe it's some other type of change or transition that you're currently going through or enduring. But listen to Benita, you're going to make it. It doesn't always look pretty, It's not going to always, what do they say, have glitter and gold and look the best. We like to think that because we feel like we're doing what God told us to do, and we always think of all these wonderful things when God tells us to do something. But sometimes it takes a little bit of testing. It takes a little bit of being pruned, being refined, help build our character, to help build our faith and our trust in him. And so now he knows, with Benita, my daughter, I can trust her. She hears my voice. When I tell her to move, she does it. And no matter what it looks like, because like you said, there were times and places you were like, hold on, I don't want to stay here. I wouldn't want to stay there either. I'm gonna tell you that when you was telling the story, I wouldn't have wanted to stay there either. But is it what Benita wants, or is it Benita doing what God told her to do, and knowing that this is not going to be the final outcome? You knew without a doubt he was not going to leave you in that situation. That was just the time being where you had to be.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. Because when she said that, oh, you're not going to be in your car, I boo-hooed, because I'm like, and I even told her, I said, do you know I talked to God about that? So I know this is God in this, because you didn't know this.
And that's the thing too. Look for God in everything. He will show you. He will show you. He literally showed you in your story. He showed you everything. Like, he showed you he was there.
Yep.
Is that your baby, Darren?
It is. Yep.
Hi, Darren. Your mom was sharing y'all amazing story with us, and we're coming back for part 2, so everybody can hear the rest of it. So everybody can hear the rest. But I thank you, Benita. I thank you for your time. I thank you for your yes to agreeing to come up here and sharing your story. And if you decide to come back and share the rest, you are definitely welcome to do that. The only thing I ask you to do, since you did, this is something that you do on a normal basis, if you could just close us out with some words of encouragement. I'm sure you probably shared something already this week. Let them know how they can find you so they can get these words of encouragement weekly. But if you would just leave us whatever the words of encouragement may be for this week, just let us know up here, and then we can wrap it up.
Okay, sure. So on Facebook, I'm under Benita D. Garnett. I do have a YouTube channel, which is under my name as well, but it's under Benita Garnett. And Instagram is Benita Garnett _. So all social media channels is under my name. I just want to leave an encouragement of whatever it is that God told you to do it. Don't be moved by what you see or think that you don't have the resources or anything. God already supplied it. You have to think about Philippians 4:19. He will supply all our needs according to his riches and glory in Christ Jesus. So don't be afraid to do something. Yes, you heard God. You heard him clearly. And people, and I want you to know that people are not going to understand your journey. People are not going to understand when you walk out on faith or do things that just, looks weird or whatnot. But you being obedient and you doing what God told you to do. And by you being obedient, trust me, that fruit is going to be fruitful. That harvest is going to be plentiful. But you just have to keep your eyes on God. Don't keep your eyes on the situation. Just keep your eyes on Him. You are not ever alone, even if it may feels like it at times, but God is always with you. So my prayer to you is that may your strength be replenished, may your courage be replenished, may your thoughts be replenished, and may you go forth and do what God told you to do. You're sitting on a gift that you've been sitting on for maybe 1, 2, 3, 5 years, and you just like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but God told you to do it. I think we have to really stop at trying to figure out how to do things when God tells us to do something, because we want to know the plans. We want to know how it's going to work out. We want to know how we're going to do this, that, and the third. But we have to stand on Jeremiah 29:11, because God said that, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. So even with me in my situation, by us being at the shelter, I'm not going to be there long. How do I know this? Because Jeremiah 29:11 tells me so. I know my son and I are going to be prosperous. How I know? Because Jeremiah 29:11 tells me so.
That's
This is
right.
just, I'm not going to make a permanent decision in a temporary situation. So just know that where you're at, it's temporary. You're not going to be at that place long. I just want you to just go forth, take that step, do exactly what God told you to do, because He waited on you. You holding yourself back on the things that He has for you. Remember, even though how things may look, but I'm broke. I don't have that much money or whatnot. But Jeremiah 29:11 says that He will prosper us.
Mhm.
It's the process. We're always going to go through a process, but it's just if you trust God and make it through that process, trust me, you're going to be on the other side prosperous, and you're going to look back and say, look how far I've come. I've come a mighty long way because God did it. So just remember that He got you. You can do it. I just want you to I want to just see you guys make it and be exactly where God has. Just do what He told you to do, because that's all I've been hearing today. That's what's my word going to be for tomorrow. Whatever it is that He told you to do it.
Mhm.
Stop thinking about how you're going to do it. It's already done. He's just waiting on you to make that step, and then that way He can start providing and placing the people in your lives to show favor, that you have favor, and that it's all working out. Just stop thinking about how it's going to work. Just
Mhm.
stop thinking that and just trust and be obedient. That's all God wants. It's just for you to obey and trust Him. Stop trusting your family members. Stop trusting outside people. Just trust Him, because He knows the plans that He has for you, not
Right.
your family, not your close friends. God does. So you got this. You can do it.
There you go. There you have it. And this is what you get every single week from Benita. So make sure you subscribe to her channel, whether it's on YouTube or find her on Facebook or find her on Instagram at her name, Benita Garnett. All right. As
Yes.
always, y'all be blessed and be encouraged until our next Tuesday Good Testimony Live. Thank you for tuning in. Bye.